Hi, demo board and guests. Welcome to our marketing discussion. And no better way to get going than have everyone to please just introduce yourself. Who are you and why would I have asked you to come to the marketing channel?
I'm Sarah.
Start.
I'm Sarah Harishnik. I own and operate a booking company in town called Xylo Entertainment. And covers booking local groups. Sometimes I help national acts fill in rosters for local shows.
Who are some of your acts?
Right now I have Step Rockets on my roster. I perform and do the booking for Bethany Larson, Bee's Knees. Another big one right now is Sarah Morris. So yeah, it's pretty genre varied. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
I'm Joseph Kiefler. I'm Creative and Marketing Director at Audiophile, which is a music tech boutique in Minneapolis. We make apps for iOS and Mac. I just launched Hum, an app for songwriters, which is a personal project. And the reason you probably asked me to sit here is because I just recently left a job as creative lead at Zeus Jones, which is a modern branding agency in Minneapolis. So pretty varied in the world of marketing, but I've transitioned into a music-focused world of marketing.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
I'm Anna Barbario. I am the club marketer for AEG Live in Minneapolis, which means I primarily market the shows at Mill City Nights, and have recently started marketing shows at Triple Rock and at Myth as well. But primarily I'm the marketer for Mill City Nights.
My name is Dana Munson. I am the director of marketing at the Cole Center downtown, not the clothing store, the art center. Because people always get that, oh, you clothes, cool, absolutely. Where'd you get that sweater from? It's pronounced coal.
Coal.
Like lump of coal. Yes. And I think you asked me here today because I've been in marketing for, I'm going to say it, almost 20 years. So, ouch.
Okay, so yeah, we're just I just have a list of questions and topics, and here in front of me and from you, just to talk about marketing, not just for nonprofits, not just for musicians, but for just general purpose marketing for your everyday life. Okay, how well, is it true that a really good marketing person knows their customer, like you know how old they are, you know where they live, you know what else they buy, you know what they're into, you know how many things that they buy, you know. Dana, how well do you know your customer? Is it a specific kind of person, you know who that is?
I know my customer pretty well. Yeah, down to zip code. It informs the way you purchase.
So you're a stalker of yours?
Yeah, it informs the way you media buy, you market plan, the whole nine, to know your customer so you're not wasting money. I don't like the boomerang effect where you throw something out to see if it hits. I like to be specific about my marketing. So, you know, we all probably have this problem where you only have so many marketing dollars to spend, so you want to be able to spend them wisely. And I have to report to a board, an executive marketing committee as well, so I better be able to defend that money that I'm spending. So I know my customer quite well, and I'm actually, right now, we're completing a survey that we've done, that we just did for the last 4 months. And we're going to WADA the whole mailing list once again, just to see who's coming to the shows.
And if I could just maybe build on that a little bit, I think if you're an established enterprise or brand, it certainly helps to have a pretty granular understanding of who you're speaking to or who your core target is. But you know, I think if you're building something from the ground up, sometimes it's as important to know yourself as well as you know your clients or your consumers or your desired consumers. Just because, you know, it helps to for us at Zeus Jones anyway, and it's different because we're working with many thousands, if not millions of dollars. We were with larger clients. It helps to create more authentic content, to speak more authentically in the world. that may help you to pull in the desired consumer rather than chase someone you think is the desired consumer. So it's, you know, a different angle.
Yep.
Along those lines, at Mill City Nights, there's not one type of concert goer. We do so many different genres that you know, we can narrow it down. That I know my country audience. You know, I know where they hang out, their zip codes. You know, I know
Where do you guys get the zip code?
from our ticket. You know, when
Okay,
people
so
buy
it's
tickets.
previous customers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then people who sign up for newsletters. Yeah, I know the metal crowd, but they're, you know, it's just so broad that we can't really say that you know, a fan of Mill City Nights is this kind of person. So we have to do a little bit more, you know, narrow it down by genre and kind of keep the metal shows, keep the rock shows, you know, all in different categories.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sarah, can a band specifically target a person, or does the person have fun?
Generally, for the bands that I've been booking, they have some sort of a fan base to begin with, so we start, you know, dealing with mailing lists, and maybe if someone's performing in a certain end of town or a certain city if they're touring, we'll do a specific email blast out to that zip code, you know,
Okay.
in essence. Yeah.
What is the most effective tool that you have? Like specifically for you two, you have a show, it's not selling, it's coming down to the wire, you have to do something. You have this secret thing you can use, but you only use it sparingly. Is there such a thing, or do you know you can sell some tickets with this? This always works, or this works more often than not? Is there such a thing, or is it different?
Well, there's all the different types of crowd cuts, living socials,
Okay.
Groupons. Those are, you know,
Does that move tickets?
those move tickets, but you know, people are looking for a deal on there. So I mean, I say they rape and pillage. So I don't use them very often, but they have a group. You know, they have over 700,000 on their mailing list, and it's a very focused group. And you know, for the right price, I mean, I can fill the theater. I mean, it's difficult. You know, we have 40 shows on our season, so that's a performance almost every week, a different performance every week. So I'm doing lots of one-offs. There's no build time during the run, so I can't. You know, I can't have a show go for 6 weeks and then I build momentum with the audience. It's one-offs every weekend. So if I need to move tickets, it's usually through one of those vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have a very popular act selling tickets, is that easier for you?
If I have a popular act that's selling tickets, then I don't do anything. I just do my basic marketing plan and then leave it in God's hands, I guess.
Can you go 2 for 1? Hey, if you're coming to see Mr. Famous, give you a discount.
You can. So each of the companies that are on our stage have a specific contract. And so in that contract, it'll say things like, you get so many comp tickets, and we're only going to have so many comp tickets. We're only going to discount tickets for at these different levels, and we're only, so if I'm going to do something like that, then I have to clear it with the companies. So a lot of times I don't mix and mingle.
Joseph, this is sort of a question I've been thinking about for a couple of days. For everybody, what, as a marketing person, especially at Zeus Jones, which is known for thinking outside the box and coming up with new ideas, when you're just in your daily life, you see something, you see a piece of marketing that just makes you go, I can't believe people are still trying to get away with it. Something, a piece of marketing, a mistake, or something that just angers you, then you know, that you know you
Besides
would
the
never.
QR codes?
Wow.
No, I mean, it would be the QR codes, but that is so I'll answer it from a technical side.
Go for it.
The technology just does not exist to make QR codes something worth investing in my opinion. And I'm not speaking for Zeus Jones here, even though, you know, it's a part of my past. They would support that statement, but you know, it's just not. If you think about it from an interaction standpoint, it's really cumbersome for a user to have to download a tool that allows them to read an app that sends them to a website. Why not just put the website on the statement? One, it's easier, it's a more intuitive experience, and two, it actually leaves me with something I may remember. God forbid I remember anything about you. I cannot remember an abstract set of black and white dots. But then two would just be, the general laziness of trying to solve everything through your social channels. They're super valuable. They're super valuable, and I think Facebook and Twitter, and regardless of how you feel about them as tools for your daily life, they certainly have meaning for people. So it's not that I'm ignoring them, but you can't solve everything through joining the conversation. You've got to actually deliver something useful to them, something meaningful to them, to get them to speak to you or engage with you there. So I guess it'd be those things, but.
How does something, if nobody likes or uses QR codes, how does something like that get to be so ubiquitous? Because you think everyone else is doing it, so you jump on board?
Honestly, I think it's lazy marketers. Lazy agency folks. I am an agency person, so I think that it gets sold through to clients, and it takes a lot of the onus off of the agency people, because they're saying, well, this is a great new technology, put a QR code on it, and then sadly clients get a little bit behind the times just because they're not deep in the world of marketing like marketing professionals. So then they feel like that's something they should ask for. So you start to create a feedback loop that supports ideas that, I'm not saying it's a terrible idea, it's not supported. There's no infrastructure to make it a great idea. So it's probably a feedback loop, but I can be totally wrong.
All right. Anybody else? Marketing mistakes. Something that the competition does that just pisses you off.
Well, I've been trying to stray as far away from handbills as possible.
Oh, okay.
If I had my way, I would never ever hand a piece of paper, postcard, to a concert goer after they leave a show. Unfortunately, for a long time in the music industry, that's what you did. You'd order 1,000 flyers per show, and expect those, to sell tickets for you. But in my mind, it's a waste of money and it's a waste of paper, and you really piss people off. So we've been trying to, steer clear of the handbills.
That's a good one.
You'll occasionally see them for Mill City Nights, I'm sure, somewhere. But we're trying hard to get rid of them.
Dana, Sarah?
I think from like a local show perspective, people that, bands that have an email list, even if they're just friends and family, or, like a small network of people, if you don't send the announcement about a show happening, like at least 2 weeks in advance, no one's gonna show up. I have lots of shows where, like, I don't do the marketing on all of the things that I set up, but I'll get a response saying, only 20 people showed up to this performance. Why did that happen? And then I, kind of go through and walk them through and assess, like, what do they do to prepare for the attendance of that event or whatnot. But yeah, people just forgetting to do it and sending out a Facebook blast like the day before.
Again, relying too much on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think email lists are still relevant. Personally, I would rather get an email from a band and I'd actually look at it for more than a millisecond than see the Facebook event like pop up on my little notification and then I just forget about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we sell most of our tickets.
Is email?
Emails. Yep.
You agree strongly?
I mean, there's more. If I'm viewing it from a consumer's perspective, it's just it takes more for me to opt into something, an email blast.
Oh, sure.
Personally, so I'm more willing to receive tailored messages through that channel. The Facebook like is such a passive, really relatively meaningless interaction. So why should I as a brand expect that they're going to care any more about what I send through that channel than Johnny who's hungover and talking about the Doritos he's having for breakfast? I mean, truly, they are treated equally. The algorithm treats them slightly differently.
Well, but are there different tools for different age groups? Does email only work with this age group, or does you need social media for this age group, or is email kind of cover everybody now?
Twitter for the young kids. And me.
Snapchat.
I love Twitter.
Is Twitter what the kids are?
Well, I found, we've got some,
Do you do, first of all, sorry, do you do all ages shows?
yes, I was
Okay.
just gonna say, our all ages shows, promote on Twitter. Luckily now Twitter has ad capability, so I always, for, most of our all ages shows, I'll set aside a good amount of money to try on Twitter. It doesn't always work, but we found that, we have a hip hop show, Chris Webby, coming up. The second that I posted on social media, didn't even need to put money behind it, and it just went like crazy. So, yeah, Twitter.
Okay. Dana, social media?
I do think, just to go back to your question about, because it's a mix. Marketing is a mix of things. It's not just one thing or the other. So, we do have more mature audience members that also come, and they like to find out the information through the math. So
Okay.
I am still doing a postcard mailing every month. It's getting smaller, that list. And what is growing are the e-club that we have. That's getting a lot larger. But there's still that population, I think, that needs traditional marketing, at least in my industry.
Are we done with social media networks? Is there going to be something better than Facebook or Twitter?
Oh, certainly there will be.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
More-
not gonna pretend
more
like I know what that's
bigger?
gonna be.
But if you can figure it out,
What
you
if I
can make a mint. You can make a mint.
I have an 11-year-old, so I can tell you from my first-hand experience, that is my research base right there, that Facebook isn't as relevant to the younger generation.
Yeah.
I mean, Snapchat.
That's the new
Well, yeah, that's why I got the $3.5 billion offer from Google in cash that they turned down, which is crazy. But I don't know what the next thing will be, but certainly, I mean, social media is an evolving, ever-changing ecosystem. So to pretend like it's all been solved would just be naive,
Sarah, can you count on a band's, if they have 600 Facebook fans, what does that mean for sales, for show attendance? What, does it translate? How does it translate?
Not always. I think a lot of, the fans are the likes, like we said earlier, where people, they see a link on their friend's page and then they just like it and then they don't really care about it. And they just don't really pay attention. And then, at some point, I've noticed, at least for bands that I'm following on Facebook as well, that I don't see their stuff, like at all sometimes. I'll go like a week and not see anything that, like even a band that I'm working with, they'll email me and say, oh yeah, I've posted 10 things in the last week, and I'm following them and I'm not even
because
seeing it.
I don't know, do you know about the algorithm?
Not
Because
completely.
the algorithm doesn't serve up to everyone. Twitter does, but it's a very complex algorithm that like 1/10 of your followers. That's not right, but
You basically gotta pay,
small.
you've gotta pay. You
Yeah.
gotta
yeah,
pay
you
for
gotta
people.
pay for reach, and it's gotta be social to get broader reach. So to assume that all of your likes are gonna see it, just doesn't happen.
And what we were thinking, a couple of years ago was, let's build up our Facebook likes on our page, and likes was everything. And now we're finding likes doesn't mean anything. It does, it really doesn't mean anything. I can't post something, very, for a niche audience on our Facebook page, because people will unfollow us or unlike us.
Oh, sure.
Because of, they're not interested in that genre. We have 22,000 people, and, we can't talk to all those people with one post. So,
Well, but as the niches get smaller, then how do you reach those people?
I think you bring on local promoters that are, that have kind of a grasp on whatever genre you're doing in the market. We have, we've been doing a lot of EDM shows, and we've brought on Sound and Motion. They've like got a wonderful grasp on the kids who are into the EDM stuff. We brought them on from the beginning. I think, yeah, it's not, there's not one specific, way to
But you
do it,
recognize that there was a need there, you found someone who could help you meet it, and they're doing a great job,
yeah.
because they understand.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you ever, how do you expand outside of that niche? Do you ever cross-pollinate between genres and audiences? I mean, how do you break out of that to attract a larger audience?
We do a lot. We just, when we renovated the venue and we put, I think, 24 TV screens all over the venue. And what we've been doing is putting, some of our upcoming shows. Some of them don't always, translate, but we've been experimenting with promoting some of our shows that are in other genres. Specifically, we've been doing a lot of comedy, and we found that there's not really a one type of person who goes to a comedy show, so we've been able to promote our comedy shows at literally every single show that we have. And then, on the other hand, I think it's really the band has to do a lot of that. They have to expand their reach. I don't think that's something that a marketer can do, is get them, a lot more fans from the get-go.
How important is it to pay attention to what the competition is doing? And when you do, is it sort of what not to do? Do you try not to do what they're doing, try to come up with something different, or if it's working, do you, the competition, do you pay attention to the competition, and how close? Anybody? Dan? Who is the competition?
Well, I mean, we do have competition,
It's not Mill City, is it?
No. Pish tosh, Mill City. No, you pay attention to the competition. I mean, I'm more concerned about getting my patrons to come back for more than just one show. And so, like for instance, when I just sent out the survey, I did ask, do you go to the Guthrie Theater? Do you go to Hennepin Theater Trust? Do you go to the Ordway? Do you go to the Orpheum? Which I would consider our competition. And the Guthrie really bubbled up to the top. So then what I thought was, well, then let me spend some money promoting in the Guthrie Playbill, because that is also clearly my audience as well. So now we have nice, ginormous ads in the Guthrie Playbill, So that's, I guess, how I deal with my competition, because people are going to go see other stuff. There's no doubt about it, and they're going to spend those dollars. But can I get them to come back 2 or 3 or 4 times, since we do have 40 shows on the season? And the way I had to look at it, because I'm traditionally a live theater marketer, I had to look at going into a performing arts center as you're not going to always know everything that's on stage, so I have to get you to trust the brand. Same sort of way that people would buy a ticket to the Walker. They know it's going to be funky, interesting, and cool. They might not know who the hell it is, but they trust the brand. So I'm in those stages right now, trying to figure out trying to get people to figure out the brand and trust the brand. So.
Well, yeah, there's a million apps. Why is, how do you differentiate yourself? Do you pay attention to what they're doing and do it differently? That's probably how you develop an app.
I just want to say, I will answer that in a second, but I think that's really, really great that you're focusing on the brand, and I guess I was saying it not as eloquently as that, but in my very first response, I think we get so focused on the external, like, we've got to get you to come like us, but sometimes it's as valuable to make yourself more likable, to focus on reinventing how you talk about yourself. What do you believe in? What do you actually care about? What do I want to say as a brand? Not what do you want to hear as a consumer. And it's something that I spent my previous life doing for Fortune 100 brands, breaking that cycle, because it's something we get so used to doing. Like, I need to convince you to come. So I just want to applaud you, because I think that's super valuable. It will help me to understand you better by you understanding yourself better. That was a total tangent. Yes, I do focus on the competition all the time. Sometimes to be kind of cutthroat about pulling their consumers, whether it's targeting them on search or Google search, or on Facebook or wherever, or just to make sure that I am relevant as a brand and talking about things that are timely, finding reasons why other people like consumers or the competitors, what's wrong with their products, you know, so that I can focus my brands a little bit more sharply.
I just wanted to ask Anna, since you have a brand that involves all sorts of different genres of music, how do you present your brand?
Do you get to decide, or is that AEG's decision, or?
You know, we have an interesting history over there at at Mill City Nights. Speaking of kind of reinventing, how it started out, I think it's been different each year. The first year, the idea was, bam, come into the market, open this huge venue, which is what we thought. You know, what it was supposed to be. Speaking of competition, a bigger venue than what First Avenue has going on was the goal. And that's, you know, while that happened, we got through 2012 luckily, and in 2013 we really tried to, we started as Mill City Nights, I think in June 2012. It took us until 2013 to become more of, you know, a part of the community. I think we came out a little bit too strongly as a big promoter, and it took a great deal from, you know, we have all of our staff is local, but coming out, we came out as a AEG Live venue, and I think now what we've been trying to do is really focus on the concert goers, focus on the local music scene in Minneapolis, bringing on local musicians, local promoters. You know, we hosted Vitamins Are You Local competition, stuff like that, where, you know, we really try and be as a part of the Minneapolis music scene as we can, and not just presenting shows. The multiple genres, I think fans really have to like the venue. They have to enjoy the venue experience, and we've been tweaking it for the last 2 years. What we've said is we have to make the music experience enjoyable for any type of fan, any type of genre. So that's been our goal, really, is to make sure that when you come for a comedy show or you come for a metal show, hip hop, you have a good time.
So, do bands have competition?
Oh, yeah.
Do you? Okay.
Well, yeah, there was a couple periods where I booked a few too many like similar bands on my roster. Yeah, and I mean they happen to be friends of mine, you know, different groups of friends, kind of playing like some kind of Davina and the Vagabonds of old swing style stuff. And it was just really hard to, you know, get them separate bills, you know, to have them kind of be treated equally when there's only so many small venues in town. Because I'm not booking at like First Avenue right now. I do a couple shows at the Varsity a year, but nothing major. But yeah, I mean that's definitely something, at least within my own roster of people. But beyond that, I mean, yeah, getting a large fan base to come out to your show at Cause on a Sunday night, you know, when there's a better show that already happened on Friday, either at the same venue or with, you know, a totally different lineup somewhere close in town. It's just really hard for people right now, especially with the economy, and it's winter. People don't want to go.
No, for sure.
Yeah, it's really hard.
When dealing with small bands, how do you get them to help themselves? It seems like the small bands are clueless. I mean, and you have to do a lot more. How do you get them past that stage of where you have to do everything for them to them actually helping their cause? Or is that your job to do everything for them?
Sometimes, I mean, when I sign a band up for my roster, I do give them a contract that says, you're responsible for these following things. If you don't get people to the show, it's not my fault. You know, they're the ones that signed up to book this event and finalize it for themselves. So that's important, but I do help bands definitely if they're having trouble, or sometimes I'll have, you know, the main band book another act on the bill, and then they drop out, and then it's kind of on me, but legally, contract-wise, it's not, because I have to write that off, because there's just no way that I'm gonna be able to fill that kind of gap last minute. But as far as,
Does it depend on how excited they are? Like specifically for a show, if it's a venue, like if they're really excited by the prospect of Mill City Nights and they really want to play there, they'll put, I imagine, much more effort
yeah,
into a show at college.
yeah.
But they're not all Mill City Nights. So how do you? Is there a way to sort of get them to distribute their efforts more?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with local bands, sometimes I try to get them to not book as many shows.
I was gonna say.
Yes.
Don't do
Don't
like
play as much.
every Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday. Don't do that. I think really for local shows, if you're doing small clubs, like twice a month max. Otherwise, nobody's gonna come, and your parents aren't gonna come. You know, you're just not gonna fill the room with your 4 friends that are dependable.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that it's also never been easier to be a proper business as a band now. Squarespace makes it easy to build sites. MailChimp makes it really easy to have attractive email lists. You can buy media on search on Twitter and on Facebook. There's no excuse for a musician or a band trying to be proper, to not put a proper face forward. So I don't book bands, but other than the fact that they're musicians, so you know. But
Yeah.
it would help. It's, I think, good practice for them to treat themselves like a brand.
Yeah.
If you don't have a Facebook, a Twitter, if you don't have a YouTube account for your band, you're not gonna get very far. Also, if I'm giving advice to bands, I would say make sure that your band name from the start is Googleable. We've found so many, we've got these local bands that, and there are some national bands too, with either really obscure, unsearchable names.
Churches with a V. Oh, God!
Just get rid of all vowels.
Yeah. Right, yeah. Although they sold out, Fine Line, their
Thank God.
first show in the market.
They gotta keep on saying, it's churches with a V when you're looking them up. Churches with a V.
Yeah, or something, they're so broad, it's like the roadies, and you're never gonna find them anywhere. Also, I would say go on iTunes and search your potential band name. Make sure there's not another one already.
Yeah.
That's the most basic thing you can do.
Right, yeah.
Well, I had a band that, their name was taken by many other bands in other towns. And I knew this was going to be a bad idea to begin with. And then they set them up with a few local shows and it went okay, but it was really hard for the venue to find the link, the right link to put on their website. At that point, they didn't even have a Facebook page for their band. They kept saying, oh yeah, it's not ready yet, it's not ready. I'm like, what do you mean it's not ready? Put it up. Nobody's going to be able to find you. And then eventually they wanted to do a CD release show, and then they changed their name right before that. And so, I mean, the show actually sold out. It was small at the Brightly Pole, but I'm sure it was really difficult for people to, figure out why they changed their name, what's going on. It was just a mess for a few months.
Well, this goes back to, I think, Joe's point for the entire panel is work on yourself first. If you don't have a Twitter or Facebook, a name, you probably shouldn't be playing a CD release show.
Well, I think any of us who played music, I know that, do you play music? Maybe.
I play cowbell for ELNO sometimes.
Well, for those of us who've been in the scene here, all of the bands who do well treat themselves they treat their brand very seriously. It doesn't mean you have to be pretentious, but have a proper press kit, have proper materials, and make that a standard for anything that you're doing. I mean, it's just common sense. But yeah, make sure you're Googleable, make sure your site works, make sure you have make it easy for venues to find you and promote you.
the first thing we ask for are, first and last, really, everything we ask for are links. You know, if we're looking for a local band to open a show, we say send us your links. And, you know, we're looking specifically for your SoundCloud, for your YouTube, because, you know, that's how we find out that's how we find out about you and decide if, you know, we want you on the show.
In our last 10 or 15 minutes, we'll take questions from anyone who has them. David?
Joseph, I mean, you've said a couple of times we need to know ourselves. Do you have any specific recommendations on how we figure out who we are?
Yeah.
Speaking as an organization?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, we typically, so the old marketing pyramid of reducing everything to a point, and you repeat that one thing. You've probably seen it in your textbooks ad nauseum. Can you picture that? Like, this is marketing. This is my statement. If you don't picture it, then forget my hand waving.
No. Makes sense.
We actually, a lot of the modern agencies believe in reversing that and starting with a core belief. What do you believe you're here to do? What are you trying to solve in the world? Turn that into a core purpose. So put that into an actionable statement. Nike's core purpose is to put innovation and inspiration into the hands of athletes, asterisks, everywhere. The footnote is, if you have a body, you are an athlete. That's a beautiful statement. You know, it's something that you can give to the first employee to say, you're not here to buy shoes, to sell shoes, you're here to do this. It just so happens that your day-to-day takes this form. So you turn it into a core purpose, and then you put values against it. So what are the things, what are the smaller, more tangible beliefs of your organization that will force you to make good on that promise? So are you about equality? So if so, then start booking more diverse groups. Put equity first. Are you about education? You know, what are the tenets of your company that that are just a part of the fabric of who you are? So if those things are true, you have a core belief, you know something to be true, you put that into action, and you put values out there that make it easier for you to extend that set of beliefs, then it's kind of impossible to not be true to who you are. And that's what we tell brands all over the world. Why reduce it to a meaningless headline when you could just do things you actually care about? So that's the process we put forward.
And I also like the question, asking yourself, what would it mean if this organization wasn't here? What does that mean? What does that look like? What does it mean to everybody else in the world if your organization doesn't exist anymore? And I think when you ask yourself that question too, you can get to that core.
There we go. Anyone else? Tom?
How important it is you as marketers or in your staff that you embody and actually share the values that you're trying to put forward? I know that sort of changed a lot over time, where I think it's just like you hire somebody, you sell them some crap and force them to buy it, but you wouldn't do it yourself. How much is that more of the model of like what marketing is today, is that you actually sort of embody that and you would be the person that would like live, sleep, eat, and breathe that?
I think it's super important for me to go to shows. I go to shows all the time, everywhere. I mean, Mill City Nights, First Avenue. I mean, I'm going to a show at least once a week because if I'm trying to sell an experience. It's important, for me to be right there in line with Mill City Nights.
And you love and live the theater.
I do. I don't think that you can, as a marketing professional, get behind a product that like as you said, I just want to sell some crap and I would never buy this crap. I think it's, for me, it would be too hard to market it if I didn't also believe in what I was doing and selling. So it's important for me to work on things that I find that I have passion for. So I won't do it. I'll walk away if it's not there.
Yeah, and I mean, for booking bands, I won't sign a band up on my roster if I don't think they're talented people, people that are,
You can at least try and do the work.
if they're not even gonna put forth that effort to get people to their shows, why should I set up a show for them and just have it fail? And then me possibly losing the connection with the venue because of a crummy show turnout. Yeah, and stylistically wise, you know, I want to feel like I would want to be at all the shows, even though I can't physically be at all of them all the time, due to my schedule.
Is it difficult for bands to get booked?
It depends. It is.
How good is the band?
And where are they playing?
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter how good it is.
Well, it depends just kind of on how you, so say that a band just goes on a venue website and just emails that, you know, the link that's listed for booking. If the booking agent on the other end has never heard of them, you know, or they look them up and they can't find them, delete. That's a big one. You know, and if they just don't like what they find or whatnot, they're probably not gonna respond. And a lot of times, these booking agents at the venues just really don't reply to most things. That's why, it's true.
Even to their marketers sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. I mean, I go through weeks sometimes where I'll be emailing with somebody, you know, at a venue, and it'll be going fine, and we're setting up a couple shows, and then a whole month, and like that person must have, I don't know what happened to them, but they don't reply to anything. And then another week later, oh, yeah, sorry, this stuff happened, now let's finish up these shows that we were setting up 2 months ago. You know, and it's really hard for a band to be in that position. That would not
But you
be
know
fun.
not to make those mistakes. So are they more likely to listen to you because
Yeah.
because they know you? They may not know the band, but they know you.
Yeah, there's a lot of venues where I will pitch new bands to them that they've never heard of. And since I've had successful shows in the past, they'll give them a shot and let me set up a show for somebody totally new. So I think that's a major plus for.
If you have bands that are touring, let's say coming down the state,
Mm-hmm.
how do you decide to start booking people like that if they're going to be famous eventually?
So booking bands that are just coming in to,
Well,
to
let's
like
say
the
that
town
there's a
line?
brand new band and let's call it the Police, and they were in a van. Somebody here booked them down to First Avenue, and then the next year they came back, they're on a plane by themselves. They started with a van with 3 seats, because the king-size base they had to take a chair up. So then the next year when they were touring, they're on a plane.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Well, no, that's the truth, that's why it happened.
That happened to, well, I think more so in the country world. I don't know.
Mumford & Sons is that. I mean,
Yeah.
they were nothing
Okay.
one year and they were everything else.
Jake,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying, how do you guys pick somebody like that? How do you pick some band that wants to tour, that, do they call you, do you go look for them, do they?
I've gotten contacted by some label agents, you know, that look up booking in Minneapolis, and then somehow they find my site, and then, you know, they'll ask me if I know of any decent venues in town, if they've never been here. That's happened, and then I'll kind of help facilitate that. But as far as bands that are from here and want to go elsewhere, I haven't really dealt with that too much.
No, but it's more so booking people from, to here, so to speak, from other places outside of
That's
town.
not really her area.
No, so that's something you do?
So
Anybody?
I'm connected to it. I would say it's guess and check. It's a lot of just trying it out.
And aesthetics, I mean, for those of us who played nationally, I mean, it comes down to just having aesthetic judgment. They didn't judge the Police based on the fact that they drove there in a van, they judged them based on the fact that the music was awesome.
That's why all of a sudden, the first year, nobody knew who the hell they were. And then next year, everybody's
Just gotta go through that.
Question back there?
Could you maybe talk a little bit about how, if and how reviews might weigh into your marketing plans, to professional and or individual social media reviews?
Reviewers,
Reviewers?
Reviewers?
they can destroy a show, very much so. Pen is definitely mightier than sword, and you know, it's like I said, in my realm, it's harder for a review to hurt us because we're usually a one-off. So it's one weekend and then we're done. So that review is usually coming out either on Saturday or after it's all said and done. But in my past lives, a review could just destroy a show and nobody would come to see you.
So are you researching which reviewers might like your show, or are you doing anything like that in your marketing?
I think what my tactic is I have coffee with reviewers on a regular basis. So I'll sit down with Graydon and Rohan and, you know, whomever the players are, Carolyn Palmer, Ron Hubbard, and on a monthly basis, we'll have coffee. And then I'll talk to them about the different shows. And then usually what I'll do is I'll pitch certain stories to certain press people. So it's all about building that relationship. And they're not gonna pay attention to you for a very long time until you're somebody in the world who is controlling a lot of the different type of entertainment that's coming in and out. And then all of a sudden, they're gonna wanna start paying attention because they're getting bombarded all the time. So, but it's just all about just creating a relationship.
I second that wholeheartedly, yes. We have, I mean, our shows are primarily one-offs, so, you know, a bad review, I think it would destroy the band a lot more than the venue for their, you know, their next play in the market. But definitely, yeah, I mean, staying close to the guys at the Current, at City Pages, Vitamin, I mean, it's really important to be friendly as a marketer, you know, and to be somebody that you'd want to have coffee with.
Yeah, I think that the press in general gets used to being called on when you need something.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating. I have a friend who's a handyman, and he sometimes just like, dude, I can't fix your fucking toilet. I got a life.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
So proactive, getting out in front of the reviews, getting out there to see stories in advance of or whatever, and just being a friendly face to make them understand that you are human too, you know, helps. They're not going to be as likely to pan you, maybe.
Yeah, right?
I mean, it's true, it's a very good point, remembering the press when you have a great show, you know, a show that's selling really, really well, and still making sure that you set aside some nice tickets, you know.
Just because.
Just because, yeah.
So in a city where there's so many options, I mean, there's more venues than we need, right? How do you guys get yourself one up on the competition? How do you approach that? What do you do? Do you try?
At Mill City Nights, we, you know, First Avenue has been here for so long, and I grew up going to shows there. Starting a new venue is really tough, and we had to figure it out. We can't be First Avenue. We're never going to be First Avenue. I think the best thing that we did was get on board with 93X, because there wasn't really a hard rock spot in the market. Get on board with K102 and now Buzzin'. There wasn't really a spot for country club shows. So we've created a place that didn't really exist before. Now with Station 4 gone, you know, we've got a lot of their shows coming to us. I mean, we haven't focused on the indie rock because we're not gonna be there. We're not gonna be the First Avenue. So we've tried catering to the groups that are missing a venue.
Fantastic. You know, we said 7, it's been about an hour, so unless there's any other pressing points, we should probably wrap it up.
For Android?
It's coming. Eventually. Android's expensive.
Okay, thanks everybody.